See, you know what? Because I heard the click stop and I thought you stopped.
Hey, what's up guys? It's Lucas and you're watching Fine Tuning. So today we're going to check out a piece of gear that's kind of nostalgic for me, and that is this Tech21 Trademark 60 amp. It's a 60 watt solid state 112 combo. And I'll give you story time real quick. If you just want to hear the sounds of the amp, you can skip ahead to this timestamp right here. But let me tell you a little bit about my history with this particular kind of amp. So when I turned 16, I was a junior in high school. I took over for playing guitar in the marching band. I had been in the marching band for years before, but the guy that played guitar for our marching band had gone on to college. So I took over the position, which to me was like, yes, this is awesome. I was super stoked about it because I could play guitar every day, or at school every day. So, but at the time I had a Legend Rock and Roll 50 head and a PV 4x10 like tweed cabinet. And I just adored that rig. It was my pride and joy, and I would have never wanted to take it down onto the football field or on the practice field or something in all the mud and humidity and everything. I just couldn't do it. I would never do it. So I decided I needed an amp that was like tough, but also like inexpensive, kind of a beater amp that was loud that I could take out on the football field and play music with the marching band with. And that's where this comes in. So I went to my local music store and I just went in looking for something to fulfill those things. And I asked the buddy of mine that worked there at the time, and he said, you might like this. And down on the floor was one of these. It was a Tech21 Trademark 60 in a little worse shape than this. The logo was missing and Tolex is pretty torn up. But it was cheap. It was like $150 or something. And so I was able to afford that. And so I bought it, and that was going to be my amp to take out on the field. And of course, even just for that, I'm thinking, oh, I'm excited, new piece of guitar gear, whatever. So I take it home, and I remember playing into it, and keep in mind, I've been playing this old vintage Legend for a long time, so I had that sound in my ears. And I started playing this, and I was like, oh, immediately I remember being 16 or however old and just being like, oh, this is the worst. Not appreciative of anything as you are when you're a teenager. So I had like kind of a love-hate relationship with it because I loved that it wasn't my Legend and I could take it out and have something to play with. But I remember consistently thinking it sounded like butt. I just did not like it. I didn't like the clean sound. I didn't like the dirty sound. It was just loud, you know, and tough, and I could leave it in a cart to roll down to the marching band field. So I don't know what got me thinking about it, because I got rid of that one after I got out of high school. Pretty quick after I got out of high school. I wanted some other gear, and I just sold it or traded it or something. I can't remember. But I don't know how, but I saw one of these on Reverb or something the other day for some reason, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And again, it was still pretty cheap, $150 or something like that, maybe 200 shipped to me. So I thought, man, all right, for nostalgia's sake and for the video content, let's order it and check it out. Is it as bad as I remember it being, or was I just an impetuous teenager, you know? So that's what we're going to find out kind of today. Interesting stuff with this one too, by the way. This one is actually in really good shape, and it even came with the like top of the, I don't know what you call this, the little amp thing that has all the settings. It was sitting on top of the amp, and it has the tag about the spring reverb and everything. So that's kind of cool, because like I said, mine was not new. It was in rough shape. This one is really in pretty good shape. It's a little dirty, but otherwise it's in really good shape. And it had the foot switch. Mine did not have a foot switch, so I would just, if I needed to go to clean or dirty, I'd just go over there and hit the button. But we do have the foot switch, which is cool. But anyway, this amp, Tech21 is famous for making Sans amp stuff. This does have kind of a version of a Sans amp built into it. So I have this amp set up to record two ways. I have an SM57 microphone on the speaker here, so you can hear what I hear in the room. And I also have, out of the back, I have an XLR cable running to my interface for the Sans amp. And I'll flip back and forth between the two. I don't really know how good the Sans amp sounds, but you really hear it too. So anyway, what I want to do today is just kind of like fiddle around with the amp and try some settings and see if I think it sucks like I used to think it sucks, or if it's good and I just, didn't know what I was doing, which is highly possible. So I'm going to be using my PRS heavily modded standard S222. So you can see I have done this pick guard with the HSS setup and everything. This is a Planet Tone Statera bridge pickup, and these are Planet Tone Venus Isle neck and middle pickups. It's just a 5-way switch and a push-pull to split the coils on the bridge pickup. Just kind of a standard HSS type setup. So I'm going to try just some different sounds here and we'll see what it sounds like. So let's check it out. All right, so we're going to start with channel 1, which if I remember correctly is kind of the more like clean to vintage gain side of the amp. We'll just have to fiddle with it as we go through. So I've got it set kind of cleanish right now. The drive is like at about 2 o'clock and the byte switch is pushed in, but the punch control is all the way off, and it sounds sort of clean-ish on the bridge pickup, and then real clean if I go to the single coil pickups. So that sounds like this. So decidedly that is a clean sound when you're playing on the single coil pickups, which are, for me, pretty low output. It's kind of Fender-y, I think. I mean, that to me sounds very Fender-inspired. I don't love that, but I also don't hate it. To me, it just feels dry and sort of lifeless. I am also used to kind of playing with a compressor when I'm playing on clean. So I'm going to try just tweaking the knobs a little bit and see if I can get it to sound maybe a little more personality, Yeah, to me that's like a better sound. It's kind of starting to break up a little bit if you dig into it, but I tend to like clean sounds like that where it's, kind of just if you dig in real hard on like a Strat style pickup like that. I'm gonna assume if I go to the bridge pickup, it's gonna probably start to break up pretty hard. Here's the bridge pickup split. I like that sound. I keep checking over here to make sure I'm not peaking, because if the volume comes up a little bit. This is the bridge and humbucking mode. Yeah, so for a sound that I like on the single coils with this humbucker, it is kind of not really clean anymore. It's kind of really breaking up. But I will say that I would happily play a lot of songs with that tone. Like that's, you can play Tom Petty or CCR or something like that with that tone, no problem, and still have the clean sound. So I could do a lot with that. That's no problem at all. That's like wants a tube screamer kind of tone, you know, to have that as like a boost. But let's experiment with it a little bit, right? So I'm gonna try just fiddling with some knobs here. So what if we turn the, I don't really know what the punch control does. So let's see what happens as I start turning it up. Interesting. That changes the, not just the gain structure, but like just the feel. That is starting to get more kind of like Vox sounding or something. It's way more mid-rangey, but more, also more saturation. Cool kind of like juiciness to it, real mid-rangey. It reminds me like a Vox or something. I'm gonna keep turning that punch control up and see what happens. So that's the punch control all the way up, and I'm just compensating with the level to make sure it doesn't get too loud. That really sounds like overdriven Vox or something like that. Really overdriven Vox. It's pushing a little bit fuzzy, but it's a cool vintage kind of sound. That's like not the tone that I would use usually, but that's a really nice tone. I'll try playing with the drive control now that I have the punch control all the way up. Okay, I didn't expect that, I'll be honest. That's a lot of gain, like a lot of gain. So that's a surprise. That's a really stark change on one channel to go from like that really, really clean sound to that almost fuzzy level of gain. Like you could play solos with that, obviously. Well, that's cool. So I don't necessarily remember, again, I probably didn't know how to set the amp, but I don't remember thinking it sounded that good. I honestly, I kind of prefer the sort of cleaner sounds of the amp though in that position. Right about there. That's like pretty clean on the single coil pickups, but has enough mid-range to kind of sit up above. It's not so scooped, and you know, like it's enough to give you some life to the single coils. Still very touch sensitive. I would say 100% capable of doing country stuff. I'm not a great country guitar player, but you could do that, obviously. I imagine if you're a telly guy, you probably really like that sound. But on the humbucker, I really like that. That's like a mid-gain, like, you know, you could do Pete Townsend kind of. So yeah, if I was gonna gig with this amp and not any pedals or anything, I think I'd probably leave that channel set like that so that I could get cleanish on my Strat kind of pickups, and then you know, that sort of mid-gain thing with the bridge pickup. That's probably what I'd do. Of course, you can mess with the global tone controls to really mess with that too, but that will of course also affect the other channel. So but I'll sweep it a little bit. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I think that's a really nice sound. That channel's totally usable. So already halfway, I'm gonna say you were stupid, 16-year-old Lucas. This amp sounds good. Let's go to channel 2 and see what happens. So this is channel 2. I've got the drive set. Let's start with the drive about half. The weep button is out. I do kind of remember what that does, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I have the drive set at half. I have the growl turned all the way up, and the level is like, looks like about halfway up. Already that's more in my genre. Like that's more kind of, you know, mid-gain Marshall-y. A little heavy on the bass. I'm going to turn the low down a little bit. And I would turn the gain up. So I'm going to turn the drive up until it feels good to me. Yeah, about like 2 o'clock or something to me with this pickup is where the drive starts to feel good. It starts to feel like the amp is becoming its own thing and the guitar is just driving it rather than you're hearing the strings, if that makes sense. So yeah, that sounds like this. I don't know, I think that sounds great, man. I mean, that's really good. Like, I would happily gig with that, no problem. I'm not exactly sure what the growl control does. I think I remember it being kind of almost like a sizzly presence kind of control. I have it all the way up, but I'm going to try turning it down some. Yeah, that's the smooth control. So if I add some more gain like that. Yeah, that's your instant smooth lead mode. That sounds great. At least in the room. I mean, I don't know how it sounds through the mic, but it sounds great in the room. I like just is wanting to feedback like in a nice way, and I'm playing, you know, quiet enough in the room. Yeah, that's really good. I'm surprised. I'm gonna mess with that growl control some more. Let's try turning it down more and see what happens. Yeah, to me it almost sounds like almost like a contour control. Like as you turn it down, it's like it's flattening the sound, and as you turn it up, it's like scooping and then boosting the top a little bit, you know? That's all the way up. Okay, well I'm goose the drive and turn the growl all the way up. Not a ton of gain. That, you know, I'm having to dig in pretty hard to get it to do that, which I do anyway. But if you're like a high gain metal kind of guy, you probably want to hit this with a boost or something to get extra. Unless you use the weep control. But I remember thinking the weep control makes it kind of fuzzy. So let's just try that. I'm going to put the growl back a little lower. Yeah, and I'll turn the drive back to like halfway or something. So let's turn on that weep control and see what happens. Weep, W-E-E-P, weep, like cry. Well, that's interesting. There's a compression. It's like it changed the gate impedance or something, or not gate. It's like it changed the impedance of the input or something. All right, let's try turning the gain up now some. Yeah, it's like having almost like a fuzz built in, but that's actually kind of a cool sound. I remember this in particular when I was younger. I hated. I was like, ugh, it sounds horrible, because I didn't like fuzz pedals. If you have the right kind of playing, the right guitar and style and stuff, the fuzz is really cool. It's just not good for everything, but. Yeah, that really starts to sound like one of those, you know, Tony Iommi kind of level of treble booster kind of fuzz sort of sound. I'm wondering if this is really one of those things that's great for like if you have a Strat bridge pickup or something. Here's the pickup split. Definitely adds an element of fuzz, for sure. I'll turn the gain all the way up. That acts just like a treble booster. Like if you ever had a treble booster, like when you roll the volume down, it cleans it up and it gets super glassy. Like. That's kind of an interesting sound. I remember like really not liking that at all, but it's kind of cool. On those high notes, it blooms, you know, like that Eric Johnson kind of thing where I don't know how to describe it, it's like an envelope thing. I can't play Eric Johnson very well, but you know, that's the thing. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's not what I would use it for, but that is cool. I definitely prefer it with the drive or the weep out. Yeah, I kind of like it like that, honestly. That's like the drive all the way up and the growl is at like 2 o'clock. You know, I might, maybe a little less drive. I don't know, I probably would leave it that way so I could do solos if I was just going to play with just the amp and not use pedals or anything. Like that's enough to get great sustain, and if you want a palm mute, you can do that. But it's not so distorted that it's just squealing at you or anything. You could play with just that tone. It's enough gain to get around, but not so much that it's like muddy or anything. Yeah, but then if we go back to channel 1, that's probably where I'd play. I'd probably leave it like that, you know. You know, it's pretty clean, but then if you dig in real hard, and then be able to go. Yeah, to me, those are two usable amp sounds. And, you know, you'd have to dial the low and the high end for the room that you're in the band and everything. But in here, that sounds pretty good. Happily would use this as a practice amp. Happily would use it as a backup amp. I could gig on it. It'd be no problem. So, yeah, I mean, was I wrong back then? Yeah, I think probably so. No, I mean, it's not as nice as one of my vintage legends, like what I was playing at the time. It's maybe not that particular thing, but that's really, really good. I mean, better than a lot of amps, especially at that price range. I mean, and these are still, if you find them, they're not terribly expensive. I think, you know, they get up maybe $300, $400, something like that. But it's very loud. So if you need like a good gigging amp, it's very loud. And to me, this sounds better than like a Line 6 Spider or something like that, where those definitely feel very solid state. This doesn't feel quite as solid state. A little bit, but not quite. It's a little nicer feeling. And particularly when you get up with the band volume. Yeah, I don't think you'd notice it. Yeah, and it cleans up really good, which is important. And I gotta replace that volume pot. And depending on the pickups that you have, if you have higher output humbuckers or something, you get way more gain. Because this is not a super high output pickup. It's like 9K and some change, 9.5K or something. So if you have like a 15K, a JB or something, you're gonna kick it harder, and if you want more, you can get Van Halen or Metallica out of it or something. I think no problem. So yeah, and then I didn't mention on the foot switch here, let's see if I can get it to show you here. There we go. There is a boost control, because there's a second master volume boost volume over here. And you can actually link that to the reverb. So what you can do is have it so that the reverb will be off, and then when you turn the boost on, it will turn the reverb on as well. So if you kind of want, like, as opposed to having delay or something like what I would do, you could do it like that. I've had the reverb on the whole time we've been playing because I just don't like to play dry, really. But you could do that. Or you could, if you want this just as a reverb control, you could turn the boost control all the way down and have it linked, so when you step on this, it will just turn it on and off reverb. So that gives you a nice option. You also have an effects loop here. I haven't had it turned off because I don't have anything in the effects loop, and I'm not going to plug anything up to test it right now, but you can run, it's a series effects loop. So you could run delay or chorus or reverb or whatever you want to in the effects loop, and you could use that, you know, on and off on your foot switch there too. So if you wanted to, you could, for instance, have like just a delay pedal or something back here on the amp, just plugged in with a battery, and you could step on that and have delay as your sound, part of your sound too, which is really cool. And I will say, in favor of this amp, it's a big enough combo to not sound like a small combo, if that makes sense. It's pretty big sounding. It's like the size of a Hot Rod Deluxe or something. So it's got a little bit of natural bass to it. And the controls are pretty powerful. And it's also not very heavy. I'm gonna say it's maybe like between 35 and 40 pounds or something like that, which for, you know, for a combo amp, it's not bad at all. It's way lighter than like a all-tube Hot Rod Deluxe or something. So even if you put a neodymium speaker in it or something, it'll get real light. So yeah, my overall verdict here. Do I think it sucks? No, I don't. I did kind of dislike it when I was young, but I think that's probably mostly just user error. So, I mean, for me right now, I think that sounds really good. So yeah, go check one of these out. I mean, they're on Reverb and eBay and stuff like that. It's Tech21 Trademark 60. I think this would be a really nice amp to have as a backup amp, to have as a practice amp, or just a gigging amp if you have like a nice vintage amp you don't want to take out and you want something that's kind of durable and lighter weight and stuff like that. I think this would probably be a good choice, even though this technology is 20 years old or something. Now, I've been recording the Sans amp out the entire time, and I've been cutting it in while you've been listening to me play. I will have to go back and listen to see what that sounds like, because I can only hear it in the room. But you guys let me know what the Sans amp sounds like. I'm a little afraid, because I don't usually think DI outs sound very good, especially 20-year-old DI outs. So let me know what you think in the comments below. But until next time, I've been Lucas, and I will catch you later.